Well, good afternoon. Welcome back to Balancing Act. I'm Sam McEwen, and I'm here with my co-host, co-collaborator, co-partner in crime, Linda Wilson. And we have with us today Kelli Richardson. And Kelli has
Kelli
a
Reinhardt,
nonprofit organization. And Kelli, would you just introduce yourself? Tell us about your organization, and we'll have a conversation.
Absolutely. So Kelli Reinhardt, I am the founder of Make Mental Health Matter, which is a nonprofit organization for mental health and suicide prevention. I originally started it in 2018 after I lost my middle sister to a completed suicide in 2017. I just knew that I didn't want any other family to have to go through what our family went through. And over time, I realized that a mental health challenge is generally what leads people to complete the act of suicide. And so that's why we really focus on the education aspect and getting to the underlying cause so that people don't choose to take their life.
Okay. That's and I would imagine here, especially coming out of COVID, that we've seen a huge uptick in diagnosed mental illness, right? I think pre-COVID it was 25%. So people had a diagnosable mental illness, and the last figures I saw was close to 40%. Is that somewhat accurate?
Yeah, I feel like every single year the numbers go up, but I think the main thing is that people are really understanding that they can start to go get help. They also are more willing to talk about what's happening versus just suffering in silence, which so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where I love that the numbers are increasing, to be honest, because now we're actually doing something about it. We're
Right.
actually going to get help, when before in the past it was something you didn't talk about. You never went and got help. And so now people are finally getting out there. And yeah, unfortunately, it's 1 in 5 people a year will experience a mental health challenge, and about 1 in 25 are diagnosed with an actual illness, disorder, disease. I like to say challenge. That's the word I use.
Well, I was going to say the fact that the numbers are rising, it just means now that there's more of an acceptance that it's okay to get the help. I know when I was younger, you didn't talk about it. There was a lot of shame involved in that, and a lot of. It's still not the most comfortable topic, but we need to make it more mainstream, because I would hazard to guess probably 1 in 3 people have an issue that can be addressed and should be addressed, and there's no shame in that. And the fact that people feel ashamed to get help, I find that so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of it is there's still that stigma. People, like you just said, it used to be something we didn't talk about, and now we're getting a little bit better. It should be just as important as our physical health. We should be getting physical checkups and mental checkups every single year, and it should be a conversation that we're always having. But unfortunately, due to that stigma, sometimes it's cost, sometimes it's actual logistics or the awareness of who they can talk to. Those are the main things that we're seeing as barriers coming up. And then also access to care. So if you're in a rural area, or you are just another like gender or race, or, there's so many other barriers that end up coming up that they just aren't sure who to talk to, where to go. And so, yeah, I would probably say, the numbers are probably a lot higher, because I think we all as humans experience challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Just sometimes we don't acknowledge that it's bigger than what we think it is.
Right. Well, and some of it's generational also, growing up, basically, if you were struggling with something, it's like, get over it. Just get over it. Right. And that is not something that you should ever say to anybody who's struggling with any type of problem or illness or whatever. From the pastoral side, I know I have a lot of pastor friends who try to counsel, and that's not what we do. They take one course in college that is, counseling for pastors, and we won't do that at our church. But we're not, we have some professionals who are involved on the mental health side. We have people we recommend and things like that. I'm finding more and more that people will come to us and say, "Will you counsel me?" No, it's not what I do. You want help spiritually, scripturally. I do financial and some leadership training. There's some things that I do for my business, but I don't counsel. I'm not a mental health professional. And I believe that, like you say, the stigma is starting to go away, even in my generation, where we were, like I said, brought up with just get over it. And now we're realizing that, oh, I need help. This is something that I need to do for me. And that's what folks, I think, need to realize, that that has nothing to do with what other people think. It has everything to do with what you're feeling, how you're thinking, what's going through up here. And I can tell you, having been through some, quite frankly, times where suicide felt like an option. I mean, seriously. I didn't know we were going to go down this path, but sometimes I feel like I just need to say this so people can understand. I was sitting at my kitchen table with a gun in my hand on one of the days that should have been the happiest day of my life, when my granddaughter was born, my oldest granddaughter. And had it not been for a very dear friend who, for some reason, felt like he needed to call me, I wouldn't be here today. I mean, I was that close. And the phone rang. I don't know why I picked it up. Well, I picked it up because I believe that that's what God wanted to have happen. That's how it, but the struggle's real, and if you sense somebody's going through it, reach out and then help them get help. And Kelli, I know you have an organization. I know you have an event coming up in July. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. And Sam, thank you for sharing that. And I know it's not easy to talk about by any means, but I know people need to hear that, right? Like we all go through something, and it is absolutely okay to also share our story so that other people don't feel so alone. So thank you first and foremost for sharing that. Our organization, we do have an event coming up. I want to say, as related to suicide and these thoughts that we have, community and connection are the two biggest things that can help people. And so that's why we do as many events as we possibly can. But one of our big ones that is coming up is called Rock Your Wellness. It is a community event. It's free to anyone in Colorado, or if you can make it outside of Colorado. But we're going to have bands, vendors. We are doing a Vitalent blood drive. We'll be out there. We're going to do a gratitude walk that showcases your loved ones, or maybe you have a warrior in your life like you, Sam, that you want to celebrate for surviving. We're going to have the faces of people around that gratitude walk, and just having a place for us to be and support each other. We have mocktails, and it's just going to be a really good time with community. And it's on July 13th. At 4 to 8 p.m. at Civic Green Park in Highland Ranch.
And folks, you can find the links to that, to either donate or to find out more information. That'll be in the comment section here of the show. So please reach out to Kelli there. So what do you think, Kelli, is the biggest obstacle for folks getting help?
Well, I really think that you nailed it on the head when you talked about the suck it up mentality, or the get over it, or rub dirt on it, right? Those are phrases that we often hear. The other ones that I personally, with my sister, I used to call her my crazy sister, or over dramatic. And really, I just didn't understand. I didn't understand what she was experiencing, nor did in a way I say I didn't really care to know, because that was just how my sister was. Like, I thought it was normal, and I thought she had attempted 6 other times, and I thought that it was just, she was trying to get attention. But what I've come to learn over time with all the education and certifications that I've gotten now is that it's a cry for help, and people truly don't want to die. they just want the pain to end or whatever. They want to feel like they're seen, heard, and understood.
Right.
And we, as everyday people, you and I can be out there helping people, just listening. And I love that you said you're not a counselor. That is, I love that people really talk about what they can and they can't do, right?
Right.
That's not your role, but your role is and can be to listen. And sometimes simply listening is what people need, and not being judged or fixed. Nobody
Right.
needs to be fixed. So
Right.
I think that it just really comes down to how can we as humans accept others, not judge them, and use our biggest, I call it the most powerful tool in your tool belt, which could be listening non-judgmentally or just silence. Silence is a great thing for people when you can pause and allow them to just express whatever they're going through so that they don't feel so alone.
Yeah, the phrase "silence is golden" is definitely something that we should practice. You know, and Linda and I know this, but most people realize that or don't realize that people only listen for about 17 seconds before they want to try and step in and help and fix and do all that kind of good stuff, right? And listening, it's a skill that's learned, and I would encourage folks out there, if you have somebody, suicide is, like you say, it's generally just a cry for help. And in my experiences and the folks that I've dealt with through the years, we've had folks for folks in church who have committed suicide. We've had teens, and you know, it boiled down to nobody listened to their cries for help.
Yeah. Sometimes we just don't know how to. I mean, I know with my sister, I didn't really know what she was going through, nor did I have the education to understand. So that's why I decided to give back that education piece, because we only know what we know. And when we can truly just get educated to know a little bit more, then we can actually start saving lives. So yeah, absolutely.
So do you have an educational piece as part of your nonprofit? How does that work?
Yeah, so the education piece is probably the biggest part of everything that we do, whether it's our classes that we offer, which are virtual. So I can train anybody across the US. If you're outside of the US, I actually have multiple people that I partner with outside of the US that I can get people contacted so that they can get trained. And then we also, any of our events that we do, me speaking on stage, I also have a show that I do called Make Mental Health Matter Show. It's TV, podcast, and radio. And it's all about that education piece of bringing people resources and simple tips and tools that people can utilize on a daily basis that aren't hard. The one that I love telling everybody is simply smiling. Even we always have our face with us, so we can do this at any point in time. And it scientifically has been proven that it releases what I call the brain's happy juices, your endorphins, your serotonin, your dopamine. And you can, it's totally a fake it till you make it type of thing too. Just the mere upwards of your mouth helps release those happy juices of your brain. So it's simple tools and education. And YouTube channel, you can find me all over, but makementalhealthmatter.org has a whole bunch of different resources on there. So if you have somebody that's struggling, that needs to get connected to resources, you want to get educated yourself and take a class, our entry level is Mental Health First Aid, which is in partnership with Mental Health First Aid USA. And then all of our classes and our events, everything that we do is education based.
So just so folks know, is there a fee, or is everything no fee? How does that work?
Yep. So there is a low fee. Since we are a nonprofit, we have a Warrior for Mental Health monthly donor program that helps go towards being able to sponsor these classes, because we do also, with the collaboration, have to pay for them. So it's a low cost of $47 for specifically the mental health first aid. Most of our events, we do community events every single month. We try to keep those free. Sometimes we do activities that we charge a little bit for. And then depending on how far you want to go up, there's different prices for the different educational classes that we offer. And then our events are just different pricing depending on which one you're going to. So the biggest thing about nonprofits is we're businesses. So we have to function as businesses. And that's how we bring in the revenue to be able to do all the amazing things that we do on a daily basis.
So a question for that some folks may be thinking here is, if I think I have a loved one or a friend or whatever who's struggling with this, what's the first thing I should do? Who should I reach out to?
Yeah, I mean, really, truly, there are many professionals that you can get connected to. I always like to tell people that your primary care doctor is a really great place to start because they can give you a referral, and most likely they have a history of your life with them. They're a really great place or resource. If you're in a crisis, I always recommend utilizing 988 in the United States. It is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You can simply dial 988. There are volunteers on the other side that can help you through whatever you're experiencing, or maybe walk you through how to help somebody else. And if they are really truly in a crisis, they will get you to a licensed and trained therapist or counselor or somebody in your area that could help you right away. But I love to tell people, and I get this question all the time because a lot of people will send me messages and they're like, hey, I have so and so, I'm not sure what to do. And I am always more than willing to kind of walk through the verbiage, what we can say. I do have a page again on my website of really great things to say and really great things not to say. So it's a balancing act of, really, like, that's what I love the name of your show, because it really is. It's this balancing act of, like, what do we say and what we don't say. And then also just, I mean, again, listening is so powerful. It's a skill you've got to learn. Don't try to fix somebody. If they want solution, ask them. But otherwise, simply listening is really, really great. And then getting them connected, whether it's professional or into self-help strategies.
Yeah, I was not aware of that 988 number. That is very very helpful and informative, folks. So remember that if you're struggling or you know somebody that's struggling, that's a great resource, a first place to start if you need to.
Yeah.
And for the listening piece, I think a lot of times people don't understand that when you're listening all in. Your phone's down. You're not on your phone playing a game. You're not checking Facebook. You're not multitasking. You're listening, because that's one of the things they're looking for, is to feel acknowledged and heard in their pain. Right?
Yeah, when somebody's hurting and they start talking about, and here's the thing, and I'm going back to personal experience here. When it came to dealing with that, I always started the conversation about something else to see whether or not anybody was paying attention. The first time I talked about this was, and I'll be, quite frankly, this was 93, 94. Okay, 94, and it was probably 2014 before I talked to anybody about it. So I carried that around for a long time, and it's actually freeing to be able to talk about things like that, and then to know that there is help out there. Even there was help for me back then. I just didn't reach out for it, right? And my opinion is God intervened, but that doesn't always happen. And so I know we're running out of time here, Kelli, but is there something, if someone who has a family member who's committed suicide or has gone down that path, what's the best way for them to begin to heal, or who should they reach out to? What should that look like?
Yeah, that question, I mean, I can only really talk from experience. We do also and have collaborated with the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. We're definitely not trying to reinvent the wheel. So they actually have a whole entire brochure of
Okay.
after the loss of somebody to suicide, which is on our website. So you can always go download that because it's hard. I was in a fog for a whole year, really. And I have heard so many survivors that it's years and years, this fog that I didn't even know what was happening. I don't know who I was talking to. And it wasn't till I hit what I call the virtual wall that I was like, man, I got to take care of myself. And
Mhm.
I found amazing community and connection, which was what really truly brought me out of it. But yeah, there are so many people that struggle. They will not tell you that they're struggling. So I like to tell people, use your noticing skills. That's something that I train people is how can we notice these things? How can we start to recognize when somebody, even the slightest little change in their life, that's something that we can key in on and be like, hey, I noticed that you haven't really been coming to coffee and connection lately, or I've noticed that you haven't really been talking as much lately. How can we use those I statements? I observed, I noticed, I'm worried about, and open up the conversation versus them having to come to us
Mhm.
because they may or may not, and they might start it with something completely different. So
Right.
it's
Right.
really honing in on those noticing skills and learning the signs and symptoms to be watching for or listening for. And it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy by any means, but we also have to allow people to grieve and process. And that may take time. You're not going to get over it. You're going to learn how to move through it. And if you shove it down, it's probably going to come up in other areas of your life. So it is important to go find somebody to talk to. If you don't have somebody to talk to, I highly recommend that you do find somebody. And it doesn't have to be a therapist or counselor. It could be just somebody that you trust. And
Yes.
that may be your first step.
Yeah. So we are out of time. Linda, do you have any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you for the work that you do. I'm so
Yes.
sorry for your loss. I know that sounds, you hear that, but I I feel for you. And I think it's important for people to understand that they're not alone.
Yes.
You know, even if your situation is unique, which most of them are, there are other people going through the mental process you're going through.
Yes.
And there's no shame in that. You're not alone. And there's people that love you that want to help you. And just know that they're there for you. And I'm so happy that you are I'm sorry for the reason you're doing it, but I'm happy it led you to a place where you can help others.
Thank you.
So, folks, this is we've come to the end of our time here on Balancing Act: Living Life in Harmony. We've had Kelli Reinhardt here of Make Mental Health Matter. Reach out to her through the website and the links that are provided in the show notes. And Kelli, thank you again for coming on and sharing.
Thank you,
Yes,
Kelly.
thank you.
Thank you.